My name is Callen, I'm 27, and I used to think that family support was something you earned by achieving something meaningful. I thought that if I worked hard enough, sacrificed enough, and made them proud enough, they'd show up, not for every little thing, but for the big moments, the milestones. Like graduating from a top law school after clawing my way through years of night shifts, student loans, and a social life that practically evaporated. Turns out, I was wrong. Let me back up. I come from what people might call a close-knit family, at least that's the image my mom likes to project on Facebook. Group photos, matching outfits on holidays, big captions about family above all. But behind the curtain, it's more like a hierarchy. My cousin Trish is the golden child, became a nurse, married her high school sweetheart, gave my grandparents their first great-grandchild. My sister Eliza is the beauty pageant runner-up turned influencer in training. And me? Well, I was the bookworm, the one always too busy, too tired, too serious. Still, when I got my acceptance into Columbia's law program, they were all smiles and praise. My mom cried. My uncle said I was finally doing something respectable, and my grandpa even joked about me becoming the next Obama. That moment felt like a turning point, like I'd finally earned a seat at the family table. 3 years later, I passed the bar, wrapped up my last finals, and secured a position at a reputable firm in D.C. I decided to mark the occasion with a small graduation dinner, not a full party, just a meaningful celebration with the people I thought mattered most. I planned everything myself. Reserved a private dining room at this rooftop Italian place with a view of the Hudson, called ahead to make sure they had gluten-free options for my mom and vegan dishes for my sister. I paid for round-trip flights for everyone, booked their hotel rooms, even included ride-share credits in a little group email I sent out. The guest list was just family. Immediate family, plus my Uncle Brent and Aunt Janice who'd always said they couldn't wait to see me graduate. My professors were throwing a departmental reception the following weekend, but this dinner was the one I cared about. I even picked a table where the sun would set right around dessert. The day before the dinner, I got a text from Eliza. Hey, don't hate me, but we're thinking of skipping the dinner. Trish just found this insane deal on an Airbnb in Montauk. It's like one of those luxury ones with a private beach and a fire pit and everything. I stared at the message for a full minute, assuming it had to be a joke. Then came the rest, my mom chiming in with, "You'll have other ceremonies, honey." We figured this was more of a formality anyway. The real celebration is your future. And then Uncle Brent, the cherry on top. "Don't be so dramatic, Callen. It's just a degree. Go have a drink with your classmates and let it go." I didn't reply. I just sat there, phone in hand, reservation confirmation open in another tab, and something in me, something I hadn't felt in years, just shifted. A kind of still, hollow anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The quiet kind that settles in your bones. That night, I looked at the group photo I'd printed and framed for each of them. It was from my first Christmas break during law school. I was bleary-eyed and sleep-deprived, but smiling like a kid who finally made it to the grown-up table. I'd even booked a photographer to capture the dinner and had little handwritten notes folded under everyone's name cards, thanking them for their support. What a joke. So I made a few calls. First to the airline. I booked through a group travel concierge to simplify everything. Canceling the return tickets was easy. I didn't even need to explain. Just clicked the Modify button and chose Cancel segment. No refunds, of course. Non-refundable. Shame. Then I gathered all the graduation gifts I'd carefully wrapped, custom fountain pens for the uncles, a monogrammed clutch for Eliza, gourmet gift boxes for the grandparents, and I took them straight to the university office. My professors had been more like family than my actual relatives these past few years. I wrote out a simple message. Thank you for believing in me when others didn't. The dinner still happened. I'd already paid for it, and the venue was non-refundable. But the guest list changed. I invited 3 of my professors, 2 classmates who didn't have local family, and a couple of international students who weren't flying home until the end of the month. We laughed, we clinked glasses, and we shared stories. I gave a small toast, nothing dramatic, just a thank you to those who show up, even when it's not convenient. One of the servers offered to take a photo of us by the railing at sunset. I posted it in the family group chat. No caption, no snark, just the image. Me in my cap and gown, arm around my professor, glass raised, city skyline glowing behind us. Smiling like I'd never even heard of Montauk. It took less than 10 minutes. My sister was the first to call. She sounded out of breath. "Callen, what did you do?" "Mom's losing it. Like, really losing it." She thought you'd understand we just wanted one last break before everything changes. She said you canceled the tickets? They're freaking stranded. I leaned back in my chair, watching the last of the sunlight disappear behind the buildings. Eliza, I said, you made a choice. So did I. She started sputtering something about how it wasn't that serious, how they just didn't think I'd take it so personally, that they didn't expect me to be so cold. I didn't respond. I just ended the call and turned off my phone. The messages came in waves after that, missed calls from my mom, long texts from Uncle Brent about how family doesn't keep score, how I was being cruel and vindictive. I didn't reply to any of them. The only message I saved was from my Aunt Janice. Callen, I'm so sorry. We should have been there. I should have been there. I haven't decided if I'll reply to her yet. Because the thing is, they're right about one thing. I will have other ceremonies. I'll win cases. I'll move up. I'll build a life that has nothing to do with who shows up for the photos. But this dinner? That moment? It only happens once. And they chose to be somewhere else. And I chose not to forget that. The fallout didn't hit all at once. It dripped in, slow and steady, like water from a cracked ceiling. The morning after the dinner, I turned my phone back on. 32 texts. 9 missed calls. 4 voicemails. It was like waking up to a mess you didn't make but were expected to clean up. The first voicemail was from my mom. Her voice was strained, tight with forced calm. Callen, sweetheart, we need to talk. I think there's been a misunderstanding. We didn't mean to hurt you. We just thought, well, you've always been so independent. You didn't even ask if we were free that weekend. It came on fast. Call me, please. Right. A misunderstanding. Like she hadn't RSVP'd to the dinner herself 3 weeks ago with a smiley face emoji and a can't wait to celebrate message. The second voicemail was from Uncle Brent, and it was less polished. All right, listen. You made your point. You're mad. Fine. But stranding your own family? Really? You think that makes you better than us? We were going to surprise you with something big. Now you've thrown it all away. Just pick up your damn phone. I didn't. Not that day. Not the next either. Instead, I walked the city with no destination. There's something about New York that makes you feel anonymous in the best way. I wandered through Central Park, ducked into bookstores, got a hot dog from a street cart, and ate it on a bench overlooking the reservoir. I kept playing their words in my head. You'll have other ceremonies. It's just a degree. Don't be so dramatic. But it wasn't just the graduation. It was every missed birthday when they forgot to call. Every group vacation I wasn't invited to because I was probably too busy. Every time my accomplishments were treated like trivia. This dinner was the first time I had asked for something. Just once. And they chose a beach over me. By the third day, the messages took a different tone. Aunt Janice texted a photo of the family sitting at the train station with luggage, looking tired and miserable. We're finally heading back. I hope you'll talk to us when we get home. My sister Eliza followed it up with, Mom cried all night. She's not eating. Just talk to her. Please. The guilt trip was familiar. Classic playbook. Make me feel responsible for their feelings. Ignore what they did, then act wounded when I don't fold. But then something changed. That Friday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a voice I hadn't heard in years said, Is this Callen Rossner? I blinked. Yes. This is Dr. Greer. I taught your undergrad ethics seminar at Georgetown. You reached out about an internship recommendation back in 2019. I straightened up, immediately trying to place the memory. She continued, I ran into one of your professors from Columbia at a conference this week. He said you gave him a beautiful thank you gift after your graduation dinner. He spoke very highly of you. Said you've become quite the standout. I just wanted to say, that was a good choice, prioritizing people who support you. Not everyone has that clarity at your age. We spoke for 10 minutes. After we hung up, I sat quietly in my apartment, staring out the window. I could still hear Eliza's voice from the voicemail. Just talk to her. Please. I thought about all the dinners I'd skipped, all the calls I used to send straight to voicemail, not out of malice but exhaustion. And yet the one time I chose myself, really chose myself, they crumbled. That weekend, I finally agreed to meet them. Not all of them. Just my mom and Eliza. We picked a coffee shop halfway between my place and their hotel. It was raining drizzle at first, then heavier, as if the city itself didn't want to make this easy. When I walked in, my mom looked smaller than I remembered. Hair pulled back in a tight bun, lips pursed like she'd been holding back tears since Wednesday. Eliza looked annoyed, like she wanted to be anywhere else. I sat. No hugs. My mom went first. I know we messed up, she said, voice cracking. I thought. I genuinely thought you wouldn't mind. You always seemed so strong. So distant. Like you didn't need us there. I didn't need you there, I said evenly. I wanted you there. There's a difference. She winced like the words stung. We didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. Silence. Eliza finally spoke. Are you really going to keep punishing us? You canceled the flights, Callen. We were stranded. That was petty. I turned to her. Petty is booking a beach house after our SPNG to my dinner. Petty is laughing when Uncle Brent said it was just a degree. Petty is pretending that my life only matters when it's convenient for the rest of you. My mom whispered. I didn't laugh. You didn't defend me either. More silence. Outside, the rain blurred the view of traffic, like someone had smeared their fingers down a wet canvas. I thought about ending the conversation there. Standing, walking out, letting the silence speak for me. But then my mom did something that caught me off guard. She reached into her purse and slid an envelope across the table. Your grandmother wrote you a letter. She's been sick. She didn't come because she thought she wouldn't make the travel. But she asked me to give you this. I didn't take the envelope. Not yet. I stared at it, my heart thudding louder than I wanted to admit. She said, my mom continued, voice barely audible, you were the only one who never asked her for anything. And that made you the easiest to forget. She said that wasn't fair. That hit harder than I expected. I finally took the envelope, slid it into my coat pocket, and stood. I'm not punishing anyone, I said. I just finally realized I don't have to carry the disappointment anymore. It's not mine to hold. Eliza rolled her eyes. So what? You're done with the family? I looked at her for a long time. Then I smiled, calm, small, quiet. No, I said. I'm just done pretending I'm lucky to be part of it. And with that, I walked out. I didn't open the letter that night. I thought I would. I even laid it out on the kitchen counter next to a mug of peppermint tea, the rain still tapping gently on the window behind me like some dramatic soundtrack to a life-altering epiphany. But the envelope just sat there, cream-colored, heavy, my name in shaky cursive across the front. My grandmother's handwriting, a style that always looked like it belonged on wedding invitations or old love letters. It was too delicate, too real. I wasn't ready. Instead, I cleaned the apartment. Methodically, compulsively. Like if I just organized my space enough, my thoughts would fall in line behind it. I vacuumed twice, rearranged the bookshelves, alphabetized my spice rack. Anything but read that letter. The next morning, the ripple effects really started. My cousin Trish texted first. Heard you made everyone cry. Was it worth it? You've always been dramatic, but this is a new level. I stared at it for a while before archiving it without reply. Then came a message from Uncle Brent. He'd apparently roped my dad into a furious group chat titled Family First. It was 2 paragraphs of finger-pointing. According to them, I'd humiliated the family, weaponized money, and burned bridges that can't be rebuilt. My dad, who hadn't said a word to me in months, suddenly piped up in the thread with, "We raised you better than this. You don't just abandon blood over hurt feelings." I left the thread without a word. No drama, no send-off message. Just gone. But things didn't stop there. On Monday, I got a call from my grandfather. Now, my grandfather doesn't call. He prefers his old recliner, the sports channel, and mumbling from behind a newspaper like he's been doing since the Kennedy administration. But that morning, my phone buzzed, and there he was, Papa, mobile, and I almost didn't pick up. But I did. Callen, he said, voice rough like gravel. Heard there was trouble. That's one word for it, I said. He grunted, the way old men do when they're either annoyed or trying not to say the wrong thing. Your mom's been in a state. Your uncle's yelling. Your grandmother hasn't spoken since she gave her letter to Janice. I haven't read it, I admitted. Another grunt. Should. Silence stretched out, long and uncomfortable. Then he said, you know your uncle always had his head up his own rear. That's not news. Your mom, she's not good at showing up for people who don't scream the loudest. Doesn't mean she don't care. Just means she ain't built for quiet disappointments. That stung. Because he wasn't wrong. I'd always been the quiet one. The one who didn't raise my voice or throw fits or demand attention. The dependable one. And maybe that made it easier for them to forget me. She said you embarrassed her, he continued. She embarrassed me, I said, a bit sharper than I intended. All of them did. More silence. Then, maybe it's time someone in this family got embarrassed. And that was it. He hung up. It was the closest thing to support I'd gotten from him in years, and it landed like a small spark in a pitch-black room. That night, I finally opened the letter. The handwriting was shakier than I remembered, slanted hard to the right like she'd been gripping the pen too tight. Callen, I don't know if this will reach you before you make up your mind about us, but I wanted to try. I've watched you grow into the kind of man I wish I'd known when I was your age. You work hard. You carry the weight no one sees. And I think we all forgot that even the strongest backs can break. I didn't come to your dinner because I was afraid I wouldn't make it through the flight. But that wasn't fair to you. I should have told you. I should have asked you to come visit me instead. I let pride get in the way. And I think that's something a lot of us have passed down without realizing it. You're not dramatic. You're just finally speaking a language we don't like hearing, one where your pain has a place at the table. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry. Love, Grammy. I sat with that for a long time. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it back up, placed it in a hardcover journal, and slid it onto the top shelf of my bookcase. Somewhere I could find it again when I needed to remind myself that not every apology comes too late. But the letter didn't undo everything. It didn't change the fact that my uncle had now apparently spread his version of the story to half the extended family. I started getting passive-aggressive comments under old Facebook photos. A cousin posted a cryptic meme about people who think money equals character. Another aunt commented, "It's sad when someone thinks a dinner is worth more than decades of love." I hadn't spoken to that aunt in 2 years. I was still debating whether to reply to Grammy when a package showed up at my door 3 days later. No return address. Inside was a framed photo, an old one, from when I was 13. A Thanksgiving dinner, me and my sister elbowing each other in front of a pie, my mom blurry in the background. Everyone was laughing. Taped to the frame was a sticky note in red pen. Remember this, Callen. Before things broke. Before we all forgot how to sit still long enough to say thank you. I sat on the floor for an hour just holding it. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Callen, the voice asked, small, hoarse. It's Mom. Please don't hang up. She sounded different. Worn down. Not theatrical like before. Not scolding. Just tired. And something about that scared me more than any yelling ever could. I know you're angry, she said, words rushing like if she didn't say it fast enough. I'd disappear. I know we hurt you. I know we didn't show up. I don't know how to fix it. But I want to. Please, let's just talk. I didn't say anything. Because I knew what she really wanted. She didn't want to fix what happened. She wanted to fix how it looked. And just as I was about to respond, my doorbell rang. And that's when I realized this wasn't over. They weren't done. When the doorbell rang, my first instinct was to ignore it. New York is full of surprise visitors, most of them unwelcome flyers for luxury dry cleaning, politicians begging for signatures, or the occasional neighbor who swore they heard a package get stolen. But something in my gut told me to open it. Standing in the hallway, holding a semi-crushed bouquet of sunflowers and looking like she hadn't slept in days, was my mother. Callen, she said softly. Behind her stood Eliza, arms crossed and sunglasses pushed up onto her head like she wanted to be anywhere else. She didn't meet my eyes. I didn't say you could come here, I replied flatly. I know, Mom whispered, voice cracking. I needed you to see me. Not through texts. Not over the phone. Me. I opened the door wider, but only to step outside and shut it behind me. I wasn't letting them into my space. Not after everything. You flew all the way to New York? I asked. After everything I made crystal clear? She nodded. I booked the flights myself. I didn't tell anyone but your sister. I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. I looked her in the eyes. The woman who once scoffed at me for choosing a boring, bookish life instead of doing something flashy like real estate or Instagram consulting, as she liked to call it. The woman who'd always had room on her schedule for Trisha's pageants or Eliza's TikTok shoots, but never for one of my debates or class presentations. The same woman who ditched my graduation dinner because Trish found a beach house with a fire in it. Why are you really here? I asked. She stepped forward. Because I lost sight of what mattered. And I thought if I could just stand here and say it, maybe you'd believe me. I shook my head. No. You're here because Grammy wrote that letter, and you're terrified that she saw the truth before you did. That she said what you couldn't. Eliza finally spoke. Okay, this is ridiculous. You're blowing this way out of proportion. It was a dinner, Callen. One dinner. You've been acting like we abandoned you in a war zone. I turned to her slowly, eyes locked on hers. You've posted more Instagram stories from that beach house than you've said words to me in the past 3 years. Eliza rolled her eyes. So this is about attention? No, I said. This is about respect. My mom sighed, clearly rattled. Callen, she's not good at apologies. But I am. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry we didn't come. I'm sorry we made you feel like you didn't matter. That's never what we intended. That's the thing, Mom, I said. Intent doesn't undo impact. You meant to support me. You meant to be proud. But when the moment came, you chose a beach. She looked down at the flowers, then offered them toward me. I didn't take them. I appreciate the gesture, I said. But this isn't going to be fixed with sunflowers and surprise visits. I spent 3 years becoming someone I could be proud of. I asked for one night. Not alone. Not help. Not praise. Just presence. And you didn't even text until I sent the photo. My voice was steady now. Firm. This isn't about punishment. This is about boundaries. And this, I gestured between us, is one of them. I'll do better, she said quickly. I swear. I'll show up. Your bar swearing in, your job celebration, your... I cut her off. You don't get to skip the foundation and jump to the milestones. You want to be in my life? You start from the beginning, not the photos. Eliza scoffed. Oh my God. You sound like a Lifetime movie. I turned to her, deadpan. And you sound like someone who can't stand not being the center of attention. She blinked, mouth opening slightly like she'd never heard me speak to her like that before. Then I turned back to my mother. You can come to my life when you learn to respect it. Not before. Not on your timeline. And certainly not when it suits your guilt. I don't know what that looks like, she said quietly. Then it's time you learn, I replied. With that, I stepped back and opened the door, not for them, but for me. I paused only to add one final note. You can both fly home tonight. Or stay in the city. That part's up to you. But you're not coming inside. My mother's lip quivered, but she nodded. Slowly. Carefully. As if a single wrong move would shatter the glass she was finally realizing she'd been walking on for years. She turned to Eliza and murmured something, but I didn't stick around to hear it. I shut the door behind me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the outsider in my own story. A week later, I mailed Grammy a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter, ink on paper, folded into an envelope with my firm's letterhead. I thanked her for what she wrote. Told her I read it 3 times. Told her it meant more to me than she could know. I didn't mention the confrontation with the rest of the family. I didn't need to. She would know. She always knew. 3 days after that, I got a small box in the mail. Inside was a photograph of me as a toddler, sitting on Grammy's lap with my fingers in her curls and a book in my hand. Tucked behind it was a note in the same shaky handwriting. Keep building your life the way you built your dinner, full of good people, good stories, and no room for anyone who doesn't show up when it matters. That photo sits on my desk now, in a sleek black frame. I don't hear much from Eliza anymore. She posted a dramatic caption on Instagram a few days after our conversation. Some people love holding grudges more than they love healing. Let them go. The comments were full of fire emojis and Yas Queen gifs. She never tagged me. As for my mom, she sends short messages every now and then. Not essays. Not apologies. Just little things. Thinking of you. Hope the case is going well. Saw a book I thought you'd like. Let me know if you want it. I haven't responded yet, but I haven't blocked her either. That's the boundary. I don't need a perfect family. I just need an honest one. And now I know the difference. So when my firm held its welcome banquet, my first official event as a full associate, I reserved 2 extra seats. One for a friend I met at the dinner, and one for Grammy, who couldn't make it, but sent me her favorite brooch to wear on my lapel. The seats stayed full all night, and not a single one was empty.